you could get arrested for driving under the influence of marijuana, even if you have a marijuana card? You can get arrested for driving under the influence of medication, even if you have a prescription for it. That's what we call a driving under the influence of drugs case. It's not alcohol, it's drugs. So we're going to skip ahead and we're going to say that the officer pulled you over, you either refused the field sobrieties if you're smart, or you did the field sobrieties and you got arrested. You're now at the jail. What the officer's first going to do, typically no matter what, is give you a breath test. The purpose of that, the officer will say, is to rule out that alcohol was not a cause of the impairment. So even if you blow 0, 0, 0 and have no alcohol in your system, what the officer's next going to do is ask you for the urine test. If you refuse that test, your license will be suspended for a year and they're going to use that refusal against you in court. They're going to say it's consciousness of guilt. You refused because you knew you had drugs in your system. If you take the urine test, they will eventually send it off to FDLE, and FDLE will test it, send it back to the prosecutor to then prosecute you for DUI. Now you're already under arrest, so the speedy trial comes into play, and so there could be a rush to get those urine results back. So what happens is, you go, after you've gone to the potty, you've given them a urine sample, what they're supposed to do is a 12-step protocol called the Drug Influence Evaluation, done by a specially trained officer called a drug recognition expert. So he's a DRE for your DUID. Now this is great too. You know who came up with the Drug Recognition Expert program? Well, the police did. They said, let's start our own program. And you know what would be really cool and make it look like we really know what we're doing? We'll call ourselves experts. So if you go through the program, I'm an expert. Even though I never took a class in college on science, never got a nursing degree, medical degree, doctor's degree, I'm going to be an expert. So what they're supposed to do in this 12-step protocol is have you do the field sobrieties again. They're going to have you do some extra ones, the Romberg balance where you sit there, tilt your head back and estimate 30 seconds. They're going to have you do the finger to nose. They're going to check your irises. Here's the best part. Because if you're foolish enough to cooperate with the police, because remember, this is after you've been arrested. Why would you do anything they ask you after you've been arrested? Why are you doing these? Are voluntary field sobrieties, voluntary drug influence evaluation. But here's the kicker. If you're foolish enough to do this, you're probably foolish enough to answer this question. What drugs are you on? That is a step in the 12th step. Now, that is a good step, and you got to give them credit for that to go, hey, dummy, tell me what drugs you're on, because it's going to make my life a lot easier and prove the case against you. This is nonsense. It's been proven, disproven, and fought in different states. The judges always let it in because there's no other way to prove a drug driving case. It's very difficult. Here's the other key thing. When your urine comes back from the lab, there are active and non-active metabolites of the drug in your body. So for example, on a marijuana case, usually by the time they get a urine sample, it's carboxy 9. That's the non-active metabolite. So FDLE's own expert will come into court and say, I cannot say what I found in the urine was affecting the defendant driver's brain at the time of driving. So they don't know if you smoked marijuana 2 days before, 3 days before, maybe 30 days before, because it's stored in your fat cells and gets released. That's what happens in a driving under drugs case. And it can be for medication, it can be for marijuana, even if you have a script, even if you have a medical marijuana card. Remember, you can drink alcohol and drive a car as long as it does not affect your ability to drive. That's the same thing with cannabis and with your medications. You can drink as long as the medication does not affect your ability to drive. Once it does, then it becomes a crime. The crazy thing though is that we'll go in on these cases and you'll be on a medication that helps you be a better driver, and they're still trying to accuse you of this. So don't give them the evidence, don't volunteer anything, and protect yourself, because you might just be an innocent person doing the right thing and taking medications for their health. So don't do this nonsense and protect yourself.